Hello and welcome. I hope you enjoyed those few pictures of the garden, the tulips, the daffodils, everything's springing into life because now we are officially in spring, and this is a wonderful time of year for new life changes, and the birds are back. I hope you could hear them as well. I love it when they're here. They nest in and around the house, and their squabbling and their chatter is sort of first thing in the morning right through to the end of the day. It was a slight quiet period during the day, but it's such a lovely time of year. And I enjoy the winter as well. But one thing I want to talk about today, my name is Sam. I'm a nutritional therapist, and I like to help ladies in their mid-years get through this sort of perimenopause, menopausal time of life as easily and painlessly as possible, and therefore being able to enjoy the later years of life as well. I'm feeling fully fit, raring to go. I think one of the things I want to talk about today is that the winter months after Christmas, we always look forward to the new year and we make New Year's resolutions. And I think most people would agree that very few people actually maintain a New Year's resolution because it's quite a hard time of year to actually make those changes, to actually put them into place. Whereas spring, when you've got this brighter days, longer days, warmer weather, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm in the UK, it's so much easier to make changes in spring. And I think therefore with winter, it was that sort of time when people, before we had this sort of modern life, they would sort of hunker down. They would take on board that they had to slow down for those shorter days, longer nights. And I think it's a great time for us to reflect and nurture ourselves, just take things steady. But in the spring, this is when we do feel a surge of energy. I think the sun really invigorates, and it's a good time to make those changes. So as someone who likes working and has experience of working with women in this midlife, I'd like to encourage women from mid-30s to start planning ahead and not waiting for the first signs of the perimenopause to kick in. And there's three very simple things. They're quite big things actually, but they're quite simple things to address and see if you can make changes to. And the first one, I don't know if you can hear, there's a fly in here, it's buzzing around. The first one is processed foods. I harp on about it, I know, but if you include processed foods in your diet on a daily basis, it's a good time to look at that and start with your breakfast. I always think that's the best place to start. And look at what you're having. Are you having cereals? Perhaps you could have eggs instead. Perhaps you could have berries with yogurt. And look for more natural foods, foods that haven't had so much processing, or maybe things that you have made yourself where you know what's gone into it. You can control the ingredients. And I would say when it comes to processed foods, if you look at the label of the packet, if it's got more than 5 ingredients, maybe think again. If there's an ingredient on there that you don't recognise, you don't know the name, the word, then I would put that back straight away, because if it's not something you'd recognise that you would have in your own kitchen, I would pop it back, because there are lots of things out there on the market which one might call faux foods, for want of a better description. I'm sure I've heard that before, but there's another expression, fake foods, same thing. And I would look for more natural choices. And I think if you start just with your breakfast, if you have cereals, they might be fortified with A, B, C and D. It might sound wonderful, but actually you want to get everything you possibly can from your food without it being fortified, preferably. Here comes Boo Boo. There goes Boo Boo. It's my little dog. So that's number one, checking the cupboard for processed foods, seeing what you can do in the way of swapping them out for more natural options. My second one is, now the weather's brighter, and I don't know if you can see, it's lovely today. It was really quite fresh this morning. We have had plenty of rain, plenty of cold weather, coats, scarves in the last week. But today it's warmed up beautifully. The sun is really shining this afternoon. And I have been out for a walk with the dogs. I started off with my coat tight up with a hat and gloves, came back, the hat and gloves were in my pockets and my coat was open, it was so warm. So it's been quite a varied temperature today. But if you can get outside and do some exercise, I walk the dogs every day outside. That's my way of doing it. Some people like to go for a run, others like to cycle. You may walk somewhere to a gym, that's fine. But if you can actually put the two, the exercise and the outside together, that's very beneficial. But in general, getting some form of exercise, putting time aside for you to get that exercise is important. And a lot of women I've worked with over the years have said, well, I haven't got time, I've got to do this and this and this for this person, that person. And, you know, there's a point at which one has to say, well, if you're this linchpin, you require to look after yourselves. It's not selfish, it's very important, because none of us are able to help anybody else. I've spoken to men about this before as well. If so many people rely on you, you really must look after yourself. And putting time in your diary for you is the best thing you can do for everybody. And it's not at all selfish. I'm going to have a sip of tea. I've got a dry throat today. So that's it. Exercise. And if you can make it weight bearing, all to the good, because that's really fantastic for women heading into latter years. And then my third one, I was just going to talk about swapping out beauty products, looking at the labels and seeing if you could swap to something that's slightly more natural and avoid some of these chemicals that are in there that can be hormone disruptors, amongst other things. There's other things they can do as well. And then yesterday I went to buy some new underwear and I wanted some socks, and I just wanted some cotton socks. And my background, actually, my degree is in textiles. It's textile and knitwear technology, and I worked in hosiery. We used to make socks, and I'm very aware of the composition of socks and how it, you know, what it can be. And I was looking at the label to see, were these socks cotton, because I wasn't sure, and there was no actual labelling on the item itself. I found it online since, but not on this sock. Now some of them did, some of them didn't. When in my day when I started, it was a legal requirement to label the composition on the item of clothing. But what I did see was what's it called? Fresh Feet, I think it's called. Label. It's giving away which shop this is, and I was surprised. It's to do with keeping the item fresh and smelling sweet, let's say, added to the actual sock itself, which really set me. I thought, well, it must be just this one-off, and I looked at so many labels, and so many of the socks had this in it. And the chemical they had, I've written it down. Bear with me, it's a long word and it's not going to chip off the tongue very easily. It's dimethyl octadecyl 3-trimethoxyl propyl ammonium chloride. Now I have butchered that, I do apologise. And I've looked it up. I wanted to know what chemical is this in the clothing that we're putting on our feet, and can it pass through the skin? I've also worked with essential oils a few years ago. I still use them a lot, but I worked with them a few years ago. And one of the things one would recommend was to apply essential oil to the base of your foot, because the pores would be quite good for absorbing the oil into the body, and it could be systemic within, I think it's 20 minutes. And so, of course, putting socks on your feet that have got a chemical in them made me think, but should you be doing that? Is that safe? And although it comes up as being low toxicity, I don't want any toxicity on my feet. It can pass through the skin. I found that. And the main one thing I came across is if you have asthma, it may antagonise that. But I've only done a very cursory look into it. So that made me very aware. I managed to buy some socks that haven't got it in, but that made me sit up and think, oh my goodness, I've got to have to check clothing that I put next to my skin to that degree now, which is rather worrying. I like to go for natural fibres to avoid the passing of chemicals through the skin. Buying organic cotton where I can, because some of the sprays for that are really quite heavy, toxic chemicals. They can really disrupt people who work with them. And when it comes to beauty care, I like natural products. And one of the easiest things you could do is just an organic extra virgin coconut oil. It's good for removing makeup, for moisturising the whole body. You can put it on your hair, on your skin, and that's quite an easy one. I used that for quite some time in one period of my life when I couldn't quite find what I wanted, and now I've got a few things I use which are and I used it to make a deodorant as well. So they're the three things I'd recommend: is start to remove processed foods from your diet, get outside and exercise if you can, and try and swap out some of these beauty products for more natural products. Just read the labels. There's so many things in all these things. And even natural products, they do have long chemical names, but they might have the actual name of if it's an essential oil, it has a chemical name as well as it's, like lavender oil. It's worth learning a bit about that. And this website, EWG, Environmental Working Group, they have a lot of information on there, and you can find out a lot about products you might already use. But try and start swapping those out. Once you've finished a product, look to see what else you could use that's slightly better. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just a stage forward. And then clothing. Oh my goodness, I didn't think, other than looking for natural fibres, that I'd have to look out for chemicals on them to stop your feet smelling. I would just wash my socks. I know you would too. Anyway, I want to say thank you very much for joining me today. If you find information about this midlife period of use and interesting, please share it with other people. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.